What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Deep Dig Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew, and I hope you have good cell service here and you're able to not lose connection during this pod, but my co-host is right here next to me. Shouldn't be a problem.
FaceTime me. What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. Go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the pod. We really appreciate it, and it really does help us push our content to other fans.
So let's go ahead and start with the Aaron Rodgers trade news. What's the conversation? Let's start there, and then we're going to get into a couple quotes that Aaron Rodgers is dropping now that he's a Jet. Number 8 on the Jets, by the way. Cal Bear number. All
That's
right,
different.
What was his trade conversation?
Trade comp. The Jets get Aaron Rodgers and pick 15, along with a 5th rounder. The Packers, they get pick number 13. They get a 2nd round pick. They get a 6th round pick, a conditional 2nd rounder that if Rodgers plays, 65% of the plays this year will turn into a 1st rounder.
Okay, so let's just trim the bullshit of the deal. 13 for 15, they just cancel each other out, basically. And so let's not even acknowledge those, really.
I think...
Well, and then
okay,
they got, but technically, I'm saying like a first for a first, like...
Yeah.
We'll get into the detail of it, but like they didn't lose a 1st round pick there.
No.
So they gained. So they
gained value as in 2 draft picks more, but it's
and then
a wash.
And then I was gonna say the 5th and the 6th kind of cancel each other out. Like both late round picks, they kind of swapped it. So technically in the deal, it's Aaron Rodgers for a 2nd round pick and a 1st round pick next year.
That is correct.
Yeah. So who do you think won this deal?
Obviously, it was the Packers. I think that's hands down. The Jets got fleeced. I think it's solely because the Jets fleeced themselves, though. They talked themselves into a corner.
And then we say the pick swap was like a cherry on top.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things like it's just bad business to tell someone this is my only option. Like if I were to buy a car from you and I was to be like, Andrew, I really want to buy this car. I'm just not sure how much. What are you going to give me for it? And you're like, I don't know, $5,000. And I'm like, okay, $5,000. I think I can make that work. It's going to be the only car that I'm looking at. I really need it to get to work. I need it to go to school. I need it to just drive everywhere in town. Like, so this is actually a necessity for me. I need this. And you're like, okay, well, fuck it, 10,000 now. Yeah, let's do it. So that's basically what happened with the Packers Jets. And what complicated things was Aaron Rodgers kind of throwing it into the mix too. Like, was he going to retire? Was he not going to retire? That's actually it all ended up being a weird saga, but the Packers end up coming out pretty good for it with 2 first-round picks. But it is what it is. But if the Jets make it to the AFC Championship, the Jets turn out winners. Like that's the type of shit that you do when you are desperate. And if it works out for them, 100% they are going to be looking like winners because this is a franchise that has been a perennial loser for the longest time. I think the best quarterback of my lifetime since I've been watching that made him feel right is like Mark Sanchez. Like that's the only one. So it's really one of those things like, they needed to do something to shake things up, but if this doesn't work, immediately Salah's getting fired. Immediately Joe Douglas is getting fired. So you're just really hoping it doesn't turn into a Russell Wilson type of trade.
Yeah, I think it just got to a point where the Jets panicked. They were like, we need to get this shit done, so let's just bring him in the room already. I think he's going to be more willing to work with these young receivers that they have than he was in Green Bay. Hopefully you're like, new environment, new Aaron, do some whatever drugs you want here and like feel relaxed enough to like get in some extra reps with our guys. So I think it's now turning into, if the Jets make it to the AFC Championship game, I think that's a win on their end. To me, I think if they go out in the 1st round of playoffs, miss playoffs, or don't make it to, I think if they don't make the AFC Championship game and the Packers are not terrible, Packers won this trade. Because Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to play for the Packers no matter what. He could have walked for nothing.
Yeah.
Like, or he could have just sat out and the Packers could have been like, well, we didn't get anything for him, or they could have got not a first round pick next year. So if they're middle of the pack, if they're not the worst bottom 5 in the league, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't accomplish anything in New York, that's a win in my book.
Yeah, I mean, who's to say that, like, week 3, knock on wood, Aaron Rodgers doesn't go down and you have to play Zach Wilson? Like, that's a very real possibility. I mean, we've seen it even in San Francisco with Trey Lance. So do I think it's going to happen? No, but it's football. All bets are off when it comes to it. And so if we're really kind of getting down to it, I think Brian Gutekunst's like tenure as the GM of the Packers, he's traded 2 Hall of Famers. So I think one down season is good. Like, you can see what you have with Jordan Love, and realistically, if it doesn't pan out and he's not the guy, you can move on to. I don't think they're going to be in the running for Caleb Williams, but maybe with 2 first-round picks now, they can. Maybe that does shore up some options. Maybe Drake may.
Jimmy Garoppolo's on the market.
Yeah, there's going to be quarterbacks available. It is a quarterback-heavy draft looking into next year, which I actually really like. So you have some options and wiggle room there, but on your resume, it's going to say Brian Gutekunst, you traded Hall of Famer Devontae Adams. You traded Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, and it was really kind of your fault. You didn't build around Aaron. You didn't really give him the weapons he needed. You didn't do anything that he was really asking for. And in all sincerity, at the beginning of him becoming like the superstar, it wasn't a lot of crazy asks. He just wanted to be involved. I mean, how much? He can just give you a list of players. You pick one of them. All right, we went out and get it. Look at what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. Hey, you know what? I want you to get D-Hops and Odell. Okay, well, you know what? We can't get both of them. We're going to go ahead and just get Odell because it's the easiest one. Bam, perfect. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's definitely like this is a legacy defining trade for multiple people involved. Like Aaron Rodgers, obviously, how is he going to end his career after kind of stinking it up in Green Bay and doing this whole media storm? And then Gutekunst never drafted like a great receiver for him, didn't sign anyone to help him, drafted a backup running back and a backup quarterback while you had the MVP of the league. And then you have Jordan Love, obviously. How's he going to look? He's been sitting behind a Hall of Fame quarterback who sat behind a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
And then you have LaFleur. Like, what is he outside of Aaron Rodgers? And so everything's up in the air right now. And then even Zach Wilson, like, what is he going to be? How is he going to learn from this? Like, last season, it took one Mike White start for the whole team to wear Mike White t-shirts. And then they're parading around trying to get Aaron Rodgers to their squad. And they're changing their profile pics to Aaron Rodgers. Like, they don't like Zach Wilson. And
but
we have... Let me just drop these quotes before we get too deep into it. As far as Rodgers and Gutekunst's relationship, Rodgers was asked like what happened between like the lack of communication, and Rodgers said that he gets limited cell service at home, and if you want to get a hold of him, I need to see your face. You've got to FaceTime me. He referenced checking phone records, and there aren't any FaceTimes from the Green Bay Packers. So in New York, I would expect the media to be like, hey, why haven't you talked to like Saleh and Aaron Rodgers to say, I got bad cell service? And the media to be like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, what is the real reason? Yeah.
And he's not going to get the same treatment in Green Bay that he is getting now. In New York that he's getting in Green Bay.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think we all know that's kind of bullshit. Like, you can go on the Pat McAfee show every week, but you can't call back your own GM? That's kind of ridiculous. Well, even then, like, to touch base and maybe tell them a little bit about your plans. Hey, this is where I'm at heading into this, darkness retreat. This is where I'm thinking. I'm right now 60% thinking about retirement. You know what I mean? I just want to keep you informed. Just little things that he could have done. The phone works both ways, Aaron. Like, yeah, you may not have seen a FaceTime, but you also didn't call them. when
and
you
that's
had
the thing.
service.
How many of these weird antics, how Aaron Rodgers like dodges media, kind of steps around his team, like how much of that is gonna like fly in New York, and how bad is it gonna affect a young roster?
It's the Aaron Rodgers show now. Like, say what you want, but you have a head coach in Robert Saleh who is not the offensive coordinator. So he has no say on that side of the ball. It's basically Aaron Rodgers giving everything. So now it's Aaron Rodgers' guy and Nate Hackett. It's Aaron Rodgers is more likely going to be calling the plays and being like, Hackett, is this good? And he's going to be like, yeah, because what is Nathaniel Hackett going to do? Like, you just got fired. You were one of the worst coaches since Jim Tomsula. You can't step up to Aaron Rodgers and you're out. Like, you know what I mean? So it is the Aaron Rodgers show. What he says goes, and he's going to do what he wants. And they're just going to have to allow it because what else are you going to do? You're not going to scold. What are you going to do? Suspend him for a game? Okay, that's going to make you worse. You're going to scold him? Okay, well, what if he gets an attitude? What if he doesn't want to throw to your young guys now? So I think there's a lot of nuance that they're going to have to take, and they really are going to have to approach him with kid gloves moving forward because you made a deal with the devil. Now you have to, actually pay the toll. Like, you got to do it.
Yeah, and as far as Zach Wilson's future with the team, Aaron Rodgers was already contemplating retirement last season. Who knows if he's even there in a year. He has an opportunity to learn and grow under a Hall of Fame level quarterback. And he said a veteran quarterback that's coming in, he would give him hell in practice every day. Aaron Rodgers responded that Zach Wilson is going to make his life hell in practice, and he's going to make Zach Wilson's life heaven off the fields. And I don't know, take that interpretation what you will. Look at Twitter. They're really running with some narratives. But yeah, we're going to move on to the next subject. I just want to drop that little...
I want to touch base on the whole Zach Wilson of it. Okay. This is actually best case scenario for Zach Wilson if he wants to stay with the Jets organization. Because if you're Zach Wilson, what do players, like what brings teams together? It's winning. And so if he just goes in there and is a good backup quarterback and, hey, you know what? I want to give my guys the best looks in practice. I want to help prepare. I want to learn under Aaron. If he really coddles up to Aaron will put in a good word for him with the rest of the guys and they're winning games. That immediately, it's like, you remember in Seinfeld when Costanza tries to get that girl to like him, so he does the NBC thing like Costanza, so it's like associating like him with something good. If he just sticks to Aaron Rodgers' back, it's going to associate him with something good, so his teams will, like, I think it'll really be good, and he's going to learn a lot from Aaron. Like, even if Aaron doesn't talk to him and he just shadows him and watches what he does and how he prepares as a professional, I think it's going to do leaps and bounds for his game, which honestly, he could use a year of not playing. He could use a year of just sitting there and learning. And we've seen it before where a kid just comes in, it's not the right fit, it's not the right time, but you just go back to the drawing board, you retool, and you come back better than ever. And I think Zach Wilson really does have an opportunity, even if it is 2 years behind Aaron Rodgers, to really rebuild his reputation with the Jets and then prove like, hey, you know what? You have to check out what I've been doing with Aaron as my tutor.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell. We got to see what happens.
Yep.